Find our comfortable sitting position. Doesn't matter which way you choose to sit. You can cross the legs, throw them out in front of you. Have a little wiggle, find some time to get into this space. Get rid of any sort of niggling feelings or sensations. Take a big inhale. And an exhale. On the next inhale, maybe start to notice the world getting a little bit smaller. Pay less attention to noises from outside. And exhale to settle fully into our sitting position. And finding your own pattern with the breathing. Noticing the inhale and the exhale. It doesn't matter how fast or how slow you go. It makes no difference at all. Just creating a little bit of focus and concentration. If you find that the thoughts drift off, that's okay. Just try and bring the attention back to the breath when you get a chance. Let's take one more inhale. And one more exhale. Let's blink the eyes open. And let's get ready to do some moving. So we're going to go with hands, shoulders, arms. So we're going to drop the hands down beside the body. And then we're going to take a big breath in. Stretch the arms to both sides of the room and up overhead. Make our prayer at the top. And exhale the prayer down past the nose and mouth towards the chest. Let's interlace the fingers together. Point the palms towards the face. Breathe in to lift up. And exhale, turn the hands out. Push the arms away. Drop the head down. Maybe have a little bit of a wiggle from one side to another. And on an inhale, let's lift the arms up overhead. Maybe wiggling them behind the ears a little bit if you've got space. And exhale, release the hands to the sides of the room, stretching as much as possible. Let's bring the arms behind the body, interlace the hands together. Take a big breath in, maybe pulling the hands away from the lower back if you've got space. And exhale, release everything back down. Maybe give everything a little bit of a shake and a wiggle. Maybe take a couple of side bends because we're taking quite a lot of twists in today's class. So you can drop one hand down to the mat and stretch the other one overhead. Up to you how deep or how far you want to go. If you can drop the lower elbow down onto the mat, go for it, that's fine. But maybe think about revolving the chest towards the ceiling a little bit and looking up if you can. Take a breath in. And an exhale. And on the inhale, let's move to the opposite side. Drop the right hand down. Opposite arm overhead, stretching as far as possible. And once you've got the right position for you, maybe beginning to revolve the chest towards the ceiling, looking up. Breathe in. And exhale. And on the inhale, let's bring it all back through center. Maybe take a little rock from one side to another, opening at the middle of the body. And then we'll come to our tabletop position. So hands on the floor, swinging the legs around. Finding something that feels sort of middle of the road and neutral here, maybe stacking the shoulders over the wrists. And then take a breath in, lift the head up and drop the belly down. And exhale, opposite direction around the spine. Tuck the chin towards the chest, really pushing into the mat. And take an inhale, head up, belly down. And exhale, chin towards the chest, rounding the spine. It's up to you how much you want to round. Take one last inhale, lifting the head up, dropping the belly towards the floor. And exhale it back to our central neutral position. So we're going to separate the fingers out nice and wide. We're going to get ready for our first downward dog. So pushing down into the knuckles. We're going to tuck the toes underneath. We're going to take a big inhale and lift the hips up towards the ceiling. You can keep the knees bent if you wish. Maybe you can think about stepping the feet slightly further back if you want some extra comfort. And if you're all good and used to the notion, maybe you want to start pedaling the feet really early on. That's fine by me. Regardless of what you're doing, downward dog gets a lot easier if you can think about lifting the hips a little bit more. So if you find that you start to sag a little bit, bring the focus back to the hips and lift them a little bit higher. If you've noticed anything in the body that feels a little bit strange or unusual, feel free to take any variations or changes to this. Wobble things from side to side, nod the head or shake the head. Take one last inhale. And on the exhale, let's bend the knees and gaze forward. Inhale, step the right foot forward and the left foot forward. Let's grab hold of opposite elbows, take a little sway one side to another. Maybe focusing on straightening out the backs of the legs as you sway, getting a little stretch in the hamstrings. And then let's bring it all back to center. Drop the hands down towards the feet, maybe bend the knees a little bit. And on an inhale, let's lift everything upright. Taking your time. Last thing up, shoulders, neck, head. And let's take a breath in, arms up overhead, gaze towards the ceiling. And exhale, fold the hands down to the mat. Bend the knees as much as you need to. Let's inhale to the fingertips or resting the hands on shins, lengthen the backs of the legs. And exhale, plant the hands, step the right foot back and the left foot back to our plank. And let's lower it down. Inhale forward to our cobra. You can take it on the forearms if you wish. And exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. Same thing goes every inhale, maybe lifting with the hips. Using the exhale to drop the heels towards the mat or maybe pedaling the knees. Having as much of a wiggle as you need to, finding a way to start making this a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more of a base for the practice. Take one last inhale. And on the exhale, let's bend the knees, look forward. Inhale, step or jump it to the top of the mat. Lengthen through the backs of the legs, reach the fingertips to the floor or hands on shins. And exhale, bend the knees, plant the hands. Inhale, let's straighten the legs, reach the arms up overhead, gaze up. And exhale, let's fold it all straight back down, bending the knees. Inhale to the fingertips, lengthening the backs of the legs. And exhale, planting the hands. Step or jump it back to our plank and lower it down, however you choose. Inhale forward for our upward dog or cobra. And exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. Same thing goes. Take a couple of seconds, find the points of comfort. If you're already pretty comfortable here and you want to make it kind of trickier, feel free. You can step the feet a little bit closer towards the hands and maybe that will make the angle a little bit more extreme. Maybe it'll make it easier for you to drop the heels towards the mat, but it might be a bigger stretch in the legs. Take a big inhale. And on the exhale, let's bend the knees and gaze forward. Inhale, step or jump it to the top of the mat. Lengthen through the backs of the legs, reach the fingertips towards the floor. And exhale, bend the knees, plant the hands. Inhale, let's straighten the legs, reach the arms up overhead, gaze up. And exhale, back to standing. Surya Namaskara B. Let's take a breath in, arms up overhead and sit down into our little chair. And exhale, fold the hands to the mat, keeping the knees bent. Let's inhale to the fingertips, lengthen the backs of the legs. And exhale, plant the hands, step or jump it back to our plank. And let's lower it down. Inhale forward to our upward dog or cobra. And exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. Let's inhale that right leg forward between the hands. Drop the left heel down, stretch the arms up overhead, front leg bent for our warrior one. And exhale the hands back to the mat. Step the right foot back and lower it all down. Inhale forward to our upward dog or cobra. And exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. Let's inhale that left foot forward between the hands, drop the right heel down, stretch the arms up overhead, warrior one. And exhale the hands back to the mat, step the left foot back, lower it all down. Inhale forward to our upward dog or cobra, drop the shoulders from the ears. And exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. We should be noticing that the body's heating up, that everything feels a little bit warmer, maybe even feeling a little bit out of breath, all fine. If you feel like you need to wiggle anything or move anything, go for it. Doesn't even need to be something traditional. You can lift legs, you can waggle hips, do whatever you think is necessary. Let's take a big breath in. And on the exhale, let's bend the knees and look forward. Inhale, step the right foot forward, the left foot forward. Let's lengthen through the backs of the legs, reaching the fingertips towards the floor. And let's exhale, bend the knees, plant the hands. Let's take a breath in, lift the arms up overhead, sitting back into our chair. And let's exhale it back to standing. Cool, let's give everything a little bit of a wiggle and a shake. And then we're going to come back for our chair pose. So take a breath in, reach the arms up overhead, super tall. And on the exhale, let's drop it down, sitting into our Utkatasana. Breathe in. And exhale, maybe sitting a little bit deeper. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's bring the hands to prayer at the center of the chest. Take a breath in. And exhale, reach the left arm across the body towards the right leg, hooking that left arm over the outside of the right knee. Take a breath in. And maybe on the exhale, start to twist towards the side, maybe looking up towards the ceiling. Your left knee might track forward a little bit. It's not the end of the world, but if you notice it happening, maybe try to pull it back. Breathe in. And exhale. And on the inhale, let's release everything back to center. Make sure we've still got our alignment in our chair. Take an exhale. Take one more inhale. And exhale, let's cross the right hand across the body. Hook it around the outside of the left knee this time. Breathe in. And on the exhale, maybe twisting a little bit further to the side, maybe looking up towards the ceiling if you've got space for it, if it works. Inhale. And exhale. On the next inhale, let's bring the prayer back towards the center of the chest. Exhale here. And on the inhale, let's start to straighten the legs, dropping the hands down by the sides. Maybe giving the feet and the legs a little bit of a wiggle. Amazing, well done. So we're going to make sure that the left foot's pointing forward. We're going to step the right foot out behind us, getting ready for our triangle pose. So left foot pointing forward, arms to parallel. Take a breath in, reach the left arm out in front. And exhale, fold the left hand down towards the floor, right arm up towards the ceiling. Triangle pose is a real favorite of mine. It's always in my classes. So take a breath in and use the exhale to turn a little bit to the side, twirling the chest towards the ceiling. And if looking up helps you to maintain that stacking of the shoulders and keeping the chest turned, go for it. Equally, if it makes you feel like you're going to fall over, just look down towards the floor. Breathe in. And exhale. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's look down towards the left foot if we're not there already. Inhale, sweep the arms back up overhead to our triangle. Have a look at your right foot, shuffle it back behind you a little bit to widen the stance. We're going to get ready for our warrior two. Inhale and exhale. Let's bend over the left knee, looking out over the left fingers. Breathe in. And exhale, maybe sitting a little bit lower if you've got space, but we want to keep the knee over the ankle as much as possible. If you go too far forward, you might just hurt yourself. Keep everything in a good line. Breathe in. And exhale. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's lower the left arm onto the left thigh. Let's swoop the right arm underneath and up overhead, twirling the chest towards the ceiling, maybe looking towards the middle fingers of the right hand. Take a breath in. And an exhale. Have a think about your left arm on your left thigh. It's possible that you've started to do what a lot of people do and kind of shrank over into the shoulder. Push the arm against the thigh, open out with the shoulder joint. Take an inhale and an exhale. Take one more breath in. On the exhale, let's look down towards the left foot and let's inhale to sweep the arms back to our warrior two position. Let's bring the hands to the hips. We're going to look slightly forward. We're going to pivot onto the right toes and we're going to drop the right knee down to the mat. If you've landed with the legs really far apart, feel free to move. Moving is fine. So we want to keep more of a square shape. Once you're happy, take a breath in. Reach the right arm up overhead. Then let's cross it across the body, hooking onto the outside of the left knee. Let's bring the left hand to join the right in a little side prayer, twisting towards the left-hand side. And if you fancy it, you can tuck the right toes underneath. You can lift the right knee off the floor, and you can deepen into the stretch from here. These all look really good. When you're on your back leg and when you've lifted that leg off the floor, think about drawing attention towards the back heel. We're keeping that back heel super straight and strong so that we're constantly adding a lot of energy and strength through that back leg. Take a big breath in. And on the exhale, let's look down towards the left foot, lowering that right knee back to the mat. We're going to drop the hands on either side of the left foot. And we're going to step the left foot back to join the right in a big old plank. And then we're going to lower it down, your choice of how. Inhale forward to our upward dog. Maybe have a little rock of the ribs, hips, if that feels nice. And on an exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up to our downward dog. Take a breath in here. And an exhale. Let's get ready for the opposite side. Take a breath in. Let's move the right leg forward between the hands. Let's drop the left heel down and in. And let's swoop the arms upright, straightening both legs, getting ready for our triangle. If you find that you've landed funny or you don't like how you're standing, make moves. Doesn't matter. Take a big breath in. Reach the right arm forward as far as we can. And on the exhale, fold the right hand down towards the floor. Left arm up towards the ceiling. Have a little think, breathe in. And on the exhale, maybe twisting the chest a little bit towards the ceiling, maybe looking up overhead if you've got space. Again, if it throws you off, just look down at the foot instead. Inhale. And exhale. Take one more breath in here. And on the exhale, let's look down towards the right foot. Let's inhale, sweeping the arms back up to our parallel position. Have a look at your left foot, and we're going to shuffle it out behind us, getting ready for our warrior two. Breathe in. And on the exhale, let's bend over that right knee. Same set of adjustments this side as the other. You can bend a little bit further forward on the right leg, but we don't want to go too far forward because it's just sore. Breathe in. And exhale, holding as much power as you can, looking out over the right hand, stretching everything. And on the exhale, let's fold that right forearm onto the right thigh. Swoop the left arm underneath and up overhead, twirling the chest towards the ceiling, maybe tracking the gaze to the middle of the left middle finger. Breathe in. And on the exhale, if you've got space, feel free to add to the twist, that's fine. Have a think about the forearm on the right thigh. Let's make sure that we've not tucked in towards the shoulder. So opening that shoulder joint out as much as we can, growing tall. Take a breath in. And on the exhale, let's look down towards the right foot. Let's inhale to bring it back to our warrior two position. Let's straighten that front leg, bring the hands to the hips and look forward. Let's tuck up onto the left toes, and then let's lower that left knee gently to the floor. Same thing might happen on both sides. You might need to fix this alignment a little bit to make it a bit more comfortable. And then take a breath in, arm up overhead, and transfer that left arm across the body, tucking it over the outside of the right knee, bringing the right hand to join the left in prayer. And if this is far enough, that's fine. If you want to, tuck the left toes underneath, lift the left leg away from the floor, pushing out through that back heel, gaining as much strength as you can in the straight line of the leg, and always thinking about twisting more towards the side. Maybe you can look up towards the ceiling. I say that knowing that it's a massive challenge. I can't, I just fall over. So if you fancy it, give it a go. And if it doesn't work after a second, you can always come back to something more central. Take a breath in and an exhale. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's look down towards the right foot. Let's lower that left knee back to the ground if it's not there already. Let's frame the right foot with the hands, and let's step the right foot back to join the left in a plank, and let's lower it down. Inhale forward to our upward dog or cobra, and exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. Take a breath in. And exhale, maybe still dropping the heels towards the mat, maybe still working on downward dog, being challenging. Take one more inhale and one more exhale. On the inhale, let's lift the right leg up high overhead and let's bring it forward between the hands at the top of the mat. Let's drop the left heel down. We're going to cartwheel the hands upright and we're going to turn the right foot in so that we're pointing towards the sides of the mat, both feet pointing in together. So for our prasaritas, our forward folds. So we've done these quite a lot. Depends on the person, depends on the day. If you want to take the legs wider, take them wider. If you want to go more relaxed, maybe keep them closer together. Pinch and toe the toes so that they're kind of pointing towards each other a little bit. This mat is so sticky that that's really hard. And we'll bring the hands to the hips. Take a breath in, grow super tall. And on the exhale, let's float the torso forward and down, aiming for our 90-degree angle, and then maybe dropping the hands towards the mat. If the hands touch the mat, cool. If you want to go a little bit further once you're there, maybe starting to separate the legs a little bit more, totally up to you. You can also bend the knees here anytime you want to. Take a big breath in. And then use the exhale to go further, maybe drawing the hands back so they're in line with the feet, maybe dropping the head towards the mat. Totally up to you how far you want to go. Breathe in and exhale. Take one more inhale. Let's lift up onto the fingertips and gaze forward. And on the exhale, let's bring the hands to the hips, tuck the chin towards the chest, and breathe in to lift everything upright. If you've separated the legs out really far like I have, and it's kind of feeling like super hard work, feel free to wiggle them back in a little bit, no worries. We're going to reach the arms out in front and then swim them behind us, interlacing the fingers together. Once you've got that done, it's up to you. You can pull the shoulder blades in towards one another and lift the hands from the lower spine if you wish. It's not mandatory. Take a breath in and lengthen with the spine. And on the exhale, take the same hinge forward and down, maybe lifting the arms overhead, almost using them like a little lever. And the same thing goes here. If you find that you've got a little bit of extra space, you can continue to lift the arms overhead. You could start to separate the legs out a little bit further. If the whole thing just gets to be too much stress, do a little less. Maybe wiggle the feet back in, maybe drop the hands back down to the lower back, all fine. Take a big breath in. And one last exhale. And on the next inhale, let's lift everything upright. Take your time, go as slow as you want to. Let's release the hands back by the sides. And let's wiggle the legs in towards one another and give them a little bit of a shake. Well done, not simple. That's a lot of leg work. Cool. We're going to come for our tree pose variation. So it's, as always, it's up to you which variation you want to choose from. Try and avoid being in a position where you can cheat. I'm definitely always in a position where I can cheat because my kitchen's small, but it's up to you which variation you want to take. So we're going to start by pushing down into the right foot, making sure that we've got good balance, and then beginning to lift the left leg off the floor. If that's a little bit tricky, I would say go for the easiest possible variation for you. Sometimes balance just isn't great. Once you've got some semblance of balance, you can bring the foot or the leg to whatever variation you choose. That's me falling over, including the half lotus if you wish, absolutely fine. Once you've got the position you want, you can bring the hands to prayer at center of the chest, or if you're in the half lotus, you can also support the folded leg, that's fine. Two options here. We can inhale, lift the prayer up overhead and open with the arms, or we can exhale and start to fold the torso forward and down, reaching the hands towards the floor, really rooting down towards the ground. You might find that you don't get anywhere near the floor. That's absolutely fine. If you can't get close to the floor, but you still want to take the forward fold, you've got a leg. So you can let the hands fall. My balance today is so bad. You can let the hands fall anywhere on the leg that you wish. So if you're taking the forward fold, maybe you can reach beneath the knee and use that position to play about with the balance a little bit. Depends on the person, depends on the day. Take a big breath in and an exhale. On the next inhale, if you're reaching down, you can start to lift upright. If you're up overhead, let's bring the hands to prayer. We'll all meet back at the center of the chest and we'll all release the leg down. Maybe give the right leg a bit of a shake. So yeah, if any of you saw me, I had a real struggle trying to stay at any variation of that at all. And sometimes that'll happen. So be kind to yourself if that's what's occurring. It's not the end of the world. We're going to take the same thing opposite side. So pushing down into the left foot until we can fairly confidently lift the right one away. Bringing that right leg to the same variation, unless it was, like me, a complete nightmare of balance. Will it be the same? And try and take the same variation when you're here as well. So if you lift it up on the inhale first time around, do the same. If you decided to tip everything forward on the exhale, reaching down towards the floor, feeling free to reach the hands towards the leg if that's how far you get, absolutely fine. The trick with the reaching down tends to be to go nice and slowly. The slower you go, the more likely you are to maybe get a little bit further without just toppling over. Take a breath in and an exhale. And on the next inhale, let's release everything, bringing the hands back to prayer at the center of the chest, taking your time. And let's release the leg back down and give it a little bit of a shake. Amazing, cool. We're going to step it back to the top of the mat. Make sure you've got plenty of space behind you. And we're going to take a breath in, arms up overhead, gaze up. And exhale, fold the hands down to the mat. Bend the knees as much as you wish. Inhale to the fingertips, lengthening the backs of the legs. And exhale, let's plant the hands, step the right foot back and the left foot back to our plank. And then let's lower down onto the knees and let's sit the bum back on the heels and take a little child's pose. So this child's pose is giving us an opportunity to let the heart rate and the breathing rate come down. In the next section, we're going to do some side planks and some flying. So having the heart rate and the breathing rate down a little bit just gives us better preparation. You don't want to come into a side plank when you're already out of breath. So that's what we're trying to avoid. Take a breath in and an exhale. And on the next inhale, let's lift the head up. Look forward towards the hands. Then push down into the knuckles. Let's tuck the toes underneath. Let's lift everything back up to our downward dog. And then on a breath in, let's roll it all forward to our plank position. And then let's bring it back to our downward dog. Inhale to roll it forward to our plank. And exhale back to our downward dog. Lift the head and look towards the hands. We're going to shuffle the left hand in towards the center of the mat. And then we're going to rest on the outer edge of the left foot. If you don't want to do full side plank, you can drop the left knee to the floor instead. And then you can stretch the right arm up overhead, stacking the right foot on top of the left if you've gone to the outer edge of the left foot. Otherwise, letting the full sole of the right foot flatten on the floor. Take an inhale. And an exhale. Think about lifting through the hips, stacking the shoulders. And on the exhale, let's start to lower that right hand back to the mat, coming back to our plank or our downward dog position and separating the left hand towards the side of the mat again so that we're back in our real traditional downward dog. We're going to take a breath in and lift the right leg up behind us, really high into the sky. And then we're going to bend that right knee and move the leg forward towards the nose. And then we're going to shoot the right leg across the body so that it's pushing out onto the left-hand side, outer edge of the right leg on the floor, left arm reaching up towards the ceiling. If at any point that becomes too much, you can drag the right leg back in and you can bend it so that that knee is on the floor. These all look great. Take a breath in. And on the exhale, let's start to lower the left hand back to the mat. Let's step the right foot to join the left in our downward dog. Take a breath in. And on the exhale, let's lower onto the knees, sit the bum back on the heels. Child's pose. It's not easy to do that, a full side plank on one side and then a revolve side plank on the other. So if you feel a little bit wheezy or tired, that's absolutely fine. Take a couple of breaths in the child's pose. Maybe shiver the wrist a little bit and move the hands around from one side to another. You're kind of relying on your hands and your fingers quite a lot in side plank, and they might be a little bit tired. Take a breath in and an exhale. And on the inhale, let's lift the head, look forward towards the hands, and let's prepare our second side, pushing down into the knuckles. Let's tuck the toes, let's lift the hips back up to our downward dog. And then we're going to take an inhale, roll it forward to our plank, building some strength, and an exhale back to our downward dog. And then inhaling it forward to our plank again, really separating the shoulder blades, and exhale it back to our downward dog. And then we're going to get ready for our full side plank. So we're going to move the right hand towards the center of the mat, dropping onto the outer edge of the right foot or the right knee, stacking the left foot on top or left sole of foot on the floor if you're taking the modification, and stretching the left hand up towards the ceiling. If you find that the first side completely exhausted you, feel free to take a modification on the second. It doesn't need to be exactly the same. And if you find that one of the limbs or joints feels really shaky, same thing goes. It's not worth falling out of, so be as safe as possible. Take a big breath in. And on the exhale, let's lower the left hand back towards the mat, separating the right hand out to the side, stepping the right foot back to join the left in our plank, and then lifting it back up to our downward dog. Take a breath in and an exhale. And on the inhale, let's lift the left leg up behind us. Let's bend the left knee and let's pull that left leg forward towards the nose and then shoot it out to the right-hand side, stretching the right arm up towards the ceiling. Breathe in, think about lifting with the hips. And exhale. Take one more breath in, reaching high. And on the exhale, let's float that right hand back to the mat. Step the left foot back to our plank, bring it up to our downward dog, and then let's lower the knees, sit the bum back on the heels, and take a little bit of a breather. Inhale, and exhale. Shelley does not want to take a breather. Breathe in, and one last exhale. Let's inhale, lift the head away from the floor, look forward towards the hands. And we're going to come back to our plank position. So we're going to lift everything up right to our downward dog. Inhale forward to our plank again. And we're going to hold it here like miserable drill sergeants for a couple of seconds. Breathe in. And exhale. Think about separating the shoulder blades, almost like you could fly. Inhale. And exhale, we're keeping the hips in this straight line position. There's a tendency to try and lift things up to make life a bit easier. Avoid the downward dog position. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, finally, let's lift it up to our downward dog. Take a breath in. And on the exhale, we're going to lower onto the forearms. So forearms pointing forward, fingers pointing forward. Still with our downward dog legs, so hips high in the air. Take a breath in and an exhale. On the next inhale, see if you can push into the hands to straighten the arms back in our full downward dog. And exhale, lower back onto the forearms, puppy pose. Inhale back to our full downward dog. And on the exhale, let's bend the knees, look forward, and let's come forward to sitting. At long last, says everybody. That's hard. Lots of plank variations, super hard. Cool. So we're going to pop both legs out in front and come for our Paschimottanasana. So we did a lot of forward folds from standing, but we didn't do the direct straight leg forward fold after our chair. And you might be a little bit tired. Give yourself a break. If you want to take a relaxed Paschimottanasana, fine by me. Let's take a breath in and reach those arms up overhead. And on the exhale, let's float the torso forward and down, reaching towards the big toes. If you can get to them, absolutely fine. If you can't get to them, hang on somewhere on the legs. Breathe in. Think about dropping the shoulders away from the ears, even as you're reaching. And maybe use the exhale to tip the pelvic floor forward, gaining a little bit of extra space, maybe bending the elbows out to the side. But if you don't want to hold the head upright, feel free to let it hang. Head might be holding a lot of tension from the side plank stuff. Feel free to let it hang and have a little bit of a wobble from one side to another. Take a breath in. And an exhale. And on the next inhale, let's release the hands from the feet. Let's lift them up overhead, growing super tall. And exhale them out to the side. Lovely. Give the legs a little bit of a wiggle. And we're going to pull the right leg in towards the chest. We're going to come for our Janu Shirshasana. We're going to come to it first directly forward, and then we're going to come to it in a revolved variation, so a little bit more twisting. So once you've got that right leg in towards the chest, drop it out to the side and push the sole of the foot against the inner left thigh. Have a wiggle, become comfy-ish. And then take a breath in, arms up overhead. Let's twist to the left and let's fold forward over that left foot. So we've asked a lot of the legs so far in the practice, and you might find that your hamstrings have become quite loose as a result. Maybe you'll get a little bit further forward. Equally, maybe you're just really tired and you hate me and you don't want to reach forward at all. That's fine too. Take a breath in. And an exhale. Take one more inhale. And one last exhale. And on the inhale, let's reach the arms back up overhead and let's down them beside the body. Down them kind of sounds like killing someone, doesn't it? Drop them down, lower them down. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to come for our revolved variation of this. So we've thought about this before, how in order to revolve, we might need to turn the body towards the opposite side. So take a breath in and exhale, maybe twisting a little bit towards the bent right knee, and then reaching forward with the left hand to grab hold of the left foot. It doesn't matter if you can't get the foot, anywhere on the leg is absolutely fine. Once you grabbed hold of something, take a breath in, reach the right arm behind you, make a big circle overhead, almost like you could touch the fingers to the toes. You don't need to be able to reach finger to toes, though feel free if you want to. We want to try and keep the chest open so that it's twisting towards the ceiling. Breathe in and exhale. If it's all a little bit too much, release the left hand from the foot and rest it on the leg instead. No problem with that. Take a breath in and one last exhale. And on the inhale, let's lift everything back upright, arms beside the body, turning the torso towards the front, and lowering the hands. I'm having a bad talking day for sure. Let's pop the right leg out in front and take the same on the opposite sides. Maybe give the right leg a bit of a wiggle. Mine's a little bit stiff. And then we're going to pull the left leg in towards the chest, in as tight as we can. Drop it out to the side. Roll the left foot against the inner right thigh. Get a little comfier. And breathe in, lift the arms up overhead, twisting a little bit to the right, and let's fold forward over that right foot. Janu is one of those poses where one side might be absolutely fine and the other side might feel a lot tougher. If that happens, then you feel like reaching towards the foot is too much, just dial it back a little bit, hang at the ankle. It's not the end of the world. Wherever you're at, take big inhales. And use the exhales to go a little bit deeper or further if you wish. You can also use this as a little relaxer. That's fine by me. Breathe in. And exhale. And on the next inhale, let's release the hands. Let's lift them up overhead to grow tall. And let's lower them down beside the body. Same thing goes with our revolution. So with the torso pointing forwards, turn a little bit towards the left so that you're looking out over the bent left leg, and then reach the right hand forward to grab hold of the right foot or the right ankle, all fine. And then take a breath in, circle the left hand behind and up overhead, almost like you could touch fingers towards the toes, but we want to keep the chest turning towards the ceiling. So if you find that you've gone so far forward that your torso is pointing towards your foot, you've gone too far. You need to open it out a little bit more to twist upward. Take a breath in. And an exhale. Take one more inhale. And one last exhale. And on the inhale, let's lift the arms back upright, turning the torso back towards the front. And let's release the hands back down. Amazing. Let's pop that left leg out in front. Maybe give it a little bit of a wiggle if it's a little bit stiff. And then we're going to shuck the hands and the feet out to the sides, and we're going to come into a kneeling position. Shuck, also not a word. I'm not sure if we can keep this recording. Cool. So on the knees, we're going to take camel pose and its variations. So camel pose is quite a big back bend. If it's not for you, that's absolutely fine. Just stop wherever along the road you want to stop. All fine by me. We can also come into it from a couple of different ways. So we're going to have a bit of a play, see what works best for which people. Doesn't really matter how far you go. So as long as you're on the knees, you can lift up fully so that we're kind of sitting upright on the floor. And the first thing we're going to do is have a little play about with the quads. So sometimes when we're in camel pose, people think that their shoulders and chest need to be the thing that lifts them back forward. And that's not true. It needs to be in the quad muscles. So first and foremost, we're going to tip backwards a little bit, keeping everything in a straight line. And then we're going to tip back forwards, but we're going to use the strength in the legs to get us there. So rather than using the arms and shoulders and reaching, we're going to use those legs instead. So keep tipping forwards and back until you get a sense of it. It's always the upper parts of the legs that are doing the work. If you get an urge to kind of go, whoa, it probably means that you've tipped a bit too far back. So you need to be wary of how much strength is in the quad muscles as well. Your quads might be sore tomorrow. Please don't hate me when that happens. Cool. Once we've got a little bit of space and notion of what we're doing, you can keep the feet flat against the mat if you're really used to camel pose. Otherwise, I'd say tuck the toes underneath. By tucking the toes underneath, you're a little bit closer to your own heels. So it's up to you which one you want to choose. We're going to support the lower back with the left hand. So just roll the left hand against the lower back. You can do a palm forward at the back of the hand, doesn't matter. And then let's exhale, reach the right hand back, see if we can grab hold of the right heel. If that feels okay and nothing feels awful and there are no weird pops or cracks, maybe bring it back, rest the right hand against the lower back and reach back with the left one towards the left heel. And if both of those feel okay, you can come back to center and try both together. So we can reach the right hand and the left hand back, grabbing hold of the heels, and then thinking about pushing forward with the hip flexors. So the front side of the body is growing out and pushing forward as much as possible. So all of the effort is happening there, and we're not tipping backwards or sitting too hard on the heels. Take a breath in, and an exhale. And on the inhale, let's start to think about coming out of it. So pushing with the quad muscles to lift everything upright, and then maybe sitting back down. Cool. If that was okay, we're going to go about it in a second way, which is a little bit tighter, but also tends to get people a little bit further. So if you know that you can do it with feet flat on the floor, so Arif, I saw yours and your feet were flat on the floor, so you can feel free to try it the other way. It's totally up to you what you want to do. Everybody else, I can't really see your heels, so it's harder to know. So with the knees back on the floor, reach back and grab hold of the heels. You can do that with the toes tucked or with the feet flat, makes no difference to me whatsoever. And on an inhale, we're going to lift the torso forward and up. So we're coming into it from underneath, which is a little bit trickier, but it also allows us to move the hips further forward so that your hips are automatically doing all the work and you don't need to remind them to do it. Camel poses are really, really horribly difficult. If at any point the lower back feels really severely depressed, feel free to dial things back. Take a breath in. And on the exhale, let's either sit down or lift upright, whichever variation of it you prefer, totally up to you. And then we're going to sit back down regardless onto the heels, maybe have a little bit of a wiggle, one side to another. And then we're going to release the legs. It doesn't need to be fancy. We're just going to release them to a cross leg position. And then we're going to separate the feet so that we've got soles of the feet planted together. So we've done a huge amount of back bending. So we're going to try and make the back a little bit more concave for just a few minutes. So you can grab hold of the feet, interlace the fingers on top. If you don't like that for some reason, you could also rest the hands on the floor. It makes no difference to me. Take a big breath in, grow tall. And on the exhale, float the torso forward and down, rounding the spine, letting the head fall, rounding the shoulders. And let this be super passive. You don't need to be reaching towards the floor or reaching to drop the head on the feet. You don't need to make this more complex or challenging than it already is. It's a sort of counter pose for our camel. So there's no need to go too far. Take a breath in. And an exhale. Take one more inhale. And one more exhale. And on the inhale, let's release the hands from the feet. Let's lift everything back upright. And then we're going to cross the legs underneath us. We're going to bring the right hand to the outer edge of the left leg, bringing the left hand behind us onto the mat, taking a breath in to grow tall. And exhale, take a nice slow twist to the side, maybe looking out over the left shoulder. And same as before, there's no need to overdo it. Camel pose is pretty intense. So you don't want to push the body too far. Breathe in. And exhale. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's start to release it all back to center, and let's go to the opposite side. So left hand to right leg, right hand onto the mat. Breathe in to grow tall. And exhale, taking that nice, slow, luxurious twist to the right, maybe looking out over the right shoulder. Breathe in. And exhale. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's circuit it all back around so that we're back to center. Maybe give everything one little twist from one side to another. And we're going to come to our lying down position. So we can pop the legs out in front. And we're going to lower it all down. You can go as slowly or as quickly as you like. To be honest, the class has been quite strong. I would flop it if I were you. But it's totally up to you. Same thing as usual. When you're there, make sure that your back feels nice and comfortable. Everyone's back is different. There's no right way of lying down. We're going to come for our back bends, but bearing in mind that we've already done camel pose, you may not want to go any further. So you might want to do something that's quite small, like bridge poses. That's fine. If you do want to do the full wheel, maybe you'll find that you have a little bit more openness in the lower back. But please be super careful. All the work that we've done has opened out the back quite a lot. We don't want to go too far either. So we're going to bend the knees, bring the soles of the feet to the mat, resting the hands beside the body. And on a breath in, lifting the hips up towards the ceiling for our bridge pose, or bringing the hands alongside the ears and pushing with both hips and hands to lift up for our wheel. And it's totally up to you what variation of this you want to do from there. You can interlace the hands beneath the body, lifting the hips a little bit higher, rolling onto the shoulder blades. Maybe you can lift up onto the tiptoes, move the legs or balance the legs. Totally up to you what you want to do. And as always, if you've got a brick to hand, you can use the brick so that you have a more relaxing, supported bridge as well. Take a breath in. And on the exhale, let's start to lower it all down. Upper back, middle back, lower back to the mat. Maybe windshield wipering the legs from one side to another. Taking whatever other movement you might prefer or that might feel a little bit more relieving, that's also fine. And we'll come for our second back bend. So you can take the same bridge pose if you wish. You can take a wheel pose. If you've already done wheel, you can feel free to just have a rest if you want to. Totally your choice what you want to do. But all lifts take place on the inhale. So breathe in to lift the hips upright. Arifa, that balance has come on so much. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I remember when you used to just fall out of it every time you attempted. We're there. Great. Wherever you're at, take a really big inhale. And on the exhale, let's start to release it all down. The body gets used to the finishing sequence in a yoga practice. It knows when the end is near. So you should notice that the heart rate and breathing rate have come down a lot. Maybe pulling the knees in towards the chest and wrapping the arms around the legs. Pay particular attention to the lower back. Give it a little massage from one side to another or forward and back on the mat. All good. And then we're going to get ready for our Shavasana. So finding the space to lie down flat on the mat. If the lower back does feel really tender, you can bend the knees on the mat instead and let the knees fall in towards one another to give a little bit of extra support, just if the lower back feels really, really tense. You could also, of course, lie on your side, or you could decide that you want to sit for Shavasana. Totally up to you. I've got a student who does Shavasana in bed. So it's really any option that you prefer is fine. Once you've landed in your comfortable position, maybe take a big inhale. And on the exhale, close the eyes. Maybe roll the head against the floor so that the chin tucks towards the chest a little bit. Let the breathing come to something that feels shallow and natural. And start to let the body get really heavy against the floor. Letting all of that hard work, all of that effort root down into the floor beneath you and fade away. Same as at the beginning, think about drowning out all external noises. People in the house, traffic outside, birds, the wind. Bring all the focus inward. Drawing attention to the center of the chest where the heart is. And just noticing the inhale and the exhale as we give the body an opportunity to rest. Let's start to bring a little movement back into the fingers and toes. Maybe rotating the wrists and the ankles. Maybe dropping the head from one side to another. And if you've got space, lifting the arms up overhead and taking a really big, long, super luxy stretch. And exhaling, pulling the knees in towards the chest. Wrap the arms around the legs. Give yourself a little hug. Maybe rock a little bit from one side to another. And then it's up to you how you want to do it, but we'll all meet back where we started, cross legs on the mat. And we'll bring the hands to prayer, center of the chest. Inhale the prayer up and exhale it down. Little thanks to everyone who joined us. Not you, tiny dog. You were mostly extremely boisterous.